mic works.
Hello, hello.
It does work. Oh, well, there you are.
There I am. All right. Is it working?
Yes, it's working very well. It's very nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Oh, good. You got the recording thing working.
Yes, I just clicked the button.
Let me check my sound levels. And wow. We are good. All right. Hit me. What do you got?
All right, well, thank you very much for agreeing for this call. This is going to be a lot of fun. So one of my first questions is, you said a video call would be better to discuss some of the other things you couldn't answer in the email. So
probably more efficient. I mean, there's all sorts of little nuances. I mean, I gave you kind of the basic gist of it, but I imagine I don't get a lot of questions like that. So it's like, if you got follow up, I'm fine.
All right. So I guess I will go and check back the email because I was just basically going to ask you if any additional things to post, but I'll ask you the specific questions.
Sure.
Just as a refresher.
Sure.
All right. So your chain of logical reasoning, you mentioned how you wanted to boil down the argument a lot so that it seems as though the viewer gets the facts as kind of like a given instead of just something you're telling them. So if you wanted to elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned over the years, because I'm older, I've learned over the years that people like, and you've seen this in various cultures throughout, especially through modern media, they respond to easy stories. In fact, there's a kind of a plague going through Hollywood, which is called, they say it's dumb stories for dumb people. And I say it's actually simple stories for simple people. People just gloss over plot holes. And for me, it's always been about the writing. I don't care what media I'm watching. The writing has to be good for me to be invested. It's why they call them plot holes. It's kind of like a story boat, right? If there's too many plot holes, the storyboat sinks, and people, you've seen it. You've turned off stuff. You're watching. Yeah. It's like, I'm not into it anymore. For various reasons. Sometimes for personal thing, I don't like the lead character. I don't like this person. But a lot of for me, it comes down to story. So when I was looking at this, I was looking at it like a movie, which was, looking at it from the outside. Because again, I hated Flat Earth. Hated it. Oh, it was so terrible. This is the worst ever. It's why nobody talks about it. Nobody's made a movie about it or a television show about it, because we're all told in the beginning it's the worst story ever. And which is why you'd never, I don't know if you saw the documentary, but it's true. I mean, it's kind of like you go to the video store and there's certain videos you're never going to rent ever, because they're they look terrible. The marketing's terrible. It's like, oh, I'm never ever watching that thing. And so when I finally did, it's like, okay, how bad could it be? And it really wasn't that bad after I got into it. As I was going through it, sorry, to long story short,
you're good. I got all day.
The story, the simplifying, boiling down any topic into something that resonates with the public helps, but it's got to make sense to them. You can be really, really simple. Hollywood just makes simple stories that don't even make sense. But if it's simple and the public gets it, then that's what they are going to go with, which is why I mentioned in the email I wrote to you how, and a number of scientists have come back at me where I said, yeah, we created a simpler way to describe the universe. And they say it doesn't matter if it's wrong, but if it's wrong, it's still wrong. I go, yeah, but if it resonates with the public, that's what becomes the truth.
Yeah, it's like an easier way for them to like wrap their head around it.
Absolutely. I mean, the universe. I blame science. I've said, look, you've created a universe which is so amazingly complex because of you. You're the one who's made it complex. I mean, you throw out numbers that are just unfathomable and concepts that are just so out there that there's no way to prove them, and the average person cannot get their head around it. That they're never, come on. I've talked to PhDs that have spent their entire lives working on dark matter, which is still a theory. and they won't, they won't back away from what's got to be something. They just slapped a name on it. Basically, it's dark matter is 90-something% of the universe they can't explain in terms of physics. So it's like, oh, we're just going to fill it in with dark matter. And if you say it long enough and make it easy enough, the term is easy enough, people are like, oh yeah, dark matter. Do you know what it means? No, I don't. Anyway.
All right. Well, by the way, my camera's below my monitor. So if I'm looking to the side,
Oh,
I'm
that's
looking at
fine.
you on the
I
screen.
learned a
Yeah.
trick that I put your face pretty close to the camera, so it probably looks like I'm almost looking at you.
I was wondering because I know some people have like one of those. There we go. That's actually genius. Okay.
What, putting the
Yeah.
face next to the camera?
Yeah, next to
Yeah.
the camera.
Yeah, I learned that after a bunch of interviews where people, I'm like, there's got to be a better way of being able to gauge your face. I mean, I can't shrink your face. I can get it. That's a little closer. Anyway, what else you got?
All right. Well, so you talk. I think you did a really good job of explaining like how you built up the credibility throughout the video, and it ties really well with the way you built logic. So you built the logic and credibility using like the simple argument, and then you kind of were able to like separate your credibility and the argument's credibility, because if someone were to attack your credibility, it wouldn't really matter because the argument stands by itself.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up, because you have to, in stuff like this, you have to separate the credibility, because and I have never. No, that's not true. Out of the, I don't know how many hundreds of interviews I've done. Out of all those hundreds, I think I've been asked about my education level maybe 5 times, maybe out of hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
And where some of the other people, some of my peers, they've been asked all the time, which is if you kind of lean it on you too much, you don't separate you from the argument, eventually people are going to look at you and the automatic response is, well, where'd you get your education? Where'd you graduate in? No, I never get asked that, because the argument has nothing to do with my education. The argument is what it is. It's like, look, I'm just, in fact, which is why I end the videos, which it's like, don't believe a damn thing I say. Figure it out for yourself, which is it's not genius, but it worked out. Meaning most people, when they go home, it takes some time. It's like, all right, fine, I'll look at it. And then they'll look at it, in the privacy of their own home without me being there at all. And then either they go down the rabbit hole or they don't. And it's worked out. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Hardly anyone ever brings that up.
Yeah, I'm gonna like use that if I ever have to argue with someone. I'll have to like separate my own education from the point I'm making. That's really smart.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because it won't. Otherwise, once they find attack your education, your level, once that becomes in question, that's all they will do. They will tear down. They will tear down. They will tear down. It's like, what? Well, hang on. I'm gonna get a quick glass of water. I can still hear you, by the way.
All right.
Perfect example of that would be Bill Nye. I will bring up from time to time. Bill Nye, the science guy, right? Which is, he looks the part. And again, power perceived is power achieved. He wears a lab coat. He's thin. He's angular. He looks like he could have been in any of the Revenge of the Nerds movies, right? But if you look at his backstory, I don't know. I only know his backstory because he grew up as a comedian here in Seattle, right? He's not a physicist at all.
He was a comedian?
He was a comedian, a Seattle comedy troupe called Almost Live. He got his bachelor's degree.
I didn't know that.
The what?
I didn't know that. That's really
Nobody does. They just, in fact, I have talked to producers who have worked with him in the past, and the story goes like this: he got his bachelor's degree in mechanical, which is all he got, and then went straight into acting. He wanted to be an actor. That's all he wanted to be, and he joined a Seattle comedy troupe in the early '80s called Almost Live. The lead guy on that show was a guy named Ross Schaefer, who ended up being like a game show host down in Hollywood. And Ross Schaefer was the guy that came up with the idea. It's like, yeah, you know what? You're tall, you're thin, you've got that nerd look to you. It's like, let's put a freaking lab coat on you and have you do kind of sciencey things and do some sort of science skit. And it worked. But here's where everything gets weird. Where Disney, because they look for squeaky clean stuff, they're like, hey, let's do our own Sesame Street thing, right? So they looked at it, it's like, well, he doesn't swear. It's very clean cut, nothing controversial at all. Let's do Bill Nye the Science Guy as a syndicated thing. And he did, I think, what, 5 or 6 years. And then it was in reruns forever. And kids grew up with it. And then all of a sudden, so that's all you had to do was like put them in front of a camera. So because scientists are notoriously, what's the word? Boring when they're on camera. Because when you really, if you're a PhD, you just lose speech. You talk in 1 and 2 syllable answers. Like, yes, that is correct.
Like they don't move their face. Like, yes, my number one theory is, and the going topic is, and they gesture to like a whiteboard.
Oh yeah, they're a freaking cheese and mayo sandwich. I mean, they are just. I mean, the producers hate it. So you bring Bill Nye on, and then you can just ask him any question you want, and he wears the lab coat or the bow tie or both, and that's how it works. And I mean, he's done everything from quantum physics to the Mars rover. He was an advisor on the Mars rover. The Mars rover, right? I mean, he's on all sorts of panels, and he is technically, and I mentioned, there's only 3 mainstream physicists in the world, people they will put on television. Neil deGrasse Tyson, #1 with a bullet. Brian Cox out of England and Michio Kaku out of Japan. That's it. And then Bill Nye to round it out. And scientists will look, and they all like laugh and joke, but he gets more airtime. He was at the freaking White House. I mean, there was this wonderful selfie with Obama in the middle and Neil on one side and Bill on the other. I was like, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I ramble. Go ahead.
Hi. I enjoyed the Bill Nye story. I didn't know he was only a mechanical engineering graduate, which is what I'm hopefully going to be. But I'm not.
Well, no, there's nothing wrong with mechanical engineering, by the way.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But like to be just a mechanical engineer and be like the face of science for kids.
Yeah, to go from that to Dancing with the Stars, because why? Because he and you go to his wiki page and it says, I mean, he's pretty good about this. He's like, I'm a science advocate, but tell that to the news. I mean, any chance they can drag. What's your opinion on climate change? There's no opinion on climate change. Anyway, I saw him in he had a guest spot in a movie just recently, with Owen Wilson and oh crap.
Which movie?
Bliss, I believe. Hang on. Find it really fast. One second. I think it's called Bliss. Owen Wilson. Where are you, my man? He was in Bliss. Yeah. Yeah. Just released.
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, actually, it's weird. It's a movie about kind of a virtual reality type thing. Selma Hayek. Yep, there's Bill Nye right down there as Chris. Yeah, it's a weird movie. And they mentioned Flat Earth in the very beginning of it. There's this weird little thing where they've got Flat Earth on one monitor on the left, and on the right-hand side is Bill Nye walking for a science rally down a street. And it's very, very quick. But we caught it immediately. It's like, oh, I see what you did there. So Flat Earth on one side, Bill Nye on the other. Brilliant. Anyway, go ahead.
All right, so I did see the Netflix special that you mentioned. I've seen it a few times.
Yeah.
So I remember there were some points in there where they interviewed other believers who follow you or the movement.
Yeah.
So they mentioned some of them have changed in their life, but usually, because you meet a lot of those people, do you think that they usually get like a change in their life when they join the movement versus before they join the movement?
You mean how their life changes after they get into Flat Earth?
Yeah, would you say their life has like a positive or negative change?
Oh yeah, no, it's almost always positive, with the exception of the relationship issue, which is if you're into it and your significant other is not. Boy, is that a tough bridge to
hard to break.
Oof. Well, because what do you do? I mean, you might as well walk up to whoever and say, "Oh yeah, by the way, I am fill in the blank a different religion now," and
Hmm.
really into it. It's like telling somebody that was into Christianity, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm I'm Islamic now." It's like, what? After you've been married to them or been with them for years and years. The lucky ones are the couples that are in it together. The other ones, oh yeah, there's been divorces, there's been breakups, no question. I mean, and there's been a lot of them that luckily Flat Earth is so out there that there's been a lot of couples where the other person just like, well, just let him or her, it's usually a guy, but let him or her do whatever. But there are, again, I kind of give some of the credibility to the concept of flat Earth in that there are way more women in this than other conspiracies. Other conspiracies are very, very dark, whispers, the government's terrible, and isn't somebody listening to us right now? To Flat Earth, where it's got a message of hope built into it. And which I don't think they talked about in the documentary too much, which, by the way, they hated us so much. The I've gone to many conferences where women have gotten
Hmm.
into it. Women won't tend not to be drawn to things that are negative, and Flat Earth is very positive. And they've told me that it's like, oh yeah, it's got this happy, hopeful aspect to it, which is why I'm into it. It's like great, fantastic. So whereas most conspiracies are at least 95% men, this one is less than 70. So great.
In my in the essay I'm writing, I included a section about like you said, the more like upbeat tone or like less negative tone of flat Earth versus the other conspiracies, because like your video has a more humorous tone to it, and
Yeah.
the other videos have like a dark. They're all watching. Maybe we're gonna die tomorrow, and then, like scary music playing. So your like intro video was also welcoming, which is I think one of the reasons why it helped gather more people to the movement.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, me, yes, but the concept itself, people figured out that you didn't have to paint it as a dark thing. Now you could say, "Oh, the government's hiding it because of blah," fill in the dark version here.
Hmm.
But after a while, they realized that it wasn't so dark, so they didn't. Which is why just about every YouTube channel you can think of, not just us, but I mean, I can't even think of a YouTube channel that didn't cover it. You can think of it, they've done it at least once and sometimes twice because they again, so many people do it for the likes and the hits and the clicks. And
Hmm.
I knew the first time PewDiePie did it that it's like, okay, because they realized they heard the rumor that not only it's not just that they got hits, they got comments. The comments section
Hmm.
was usually 10 times deeper on a flat Earth topic. I wonder why, right? Because people are like, because you had all the
They're
just
thinking
this,
about it.
oh yeah, this rainbow of comments, which was everything from, you know, this is insulting that you would even address this topic, that you would even give them a platform to. It's like, yeah, you know what? This is really, really weird, man. To what do you think? I don't know what I think, and they just go on and on and on. I mean, but the depth, I mean, just that, I mean, I couldn't even begin to read all the comments that were on my videos. And you go to some, I mean, seriously, you think of any channel that's been around for, I don't know, at least 3 or 4 years, type in whatever channel, then Flat Earth, you'll see it. It's just blows my mind that everybody did it which is why, not to bring him up, Logan Paul, which is why he crashed our conference in Denver, which was because he knows he follows whatever's trendy. That's what he does. And so he pretends to be a flat earther. I knew full well. I was one of the only people because we're generally older. His crowd is young. And
Yeah.
so when I finally heard, because he kept it a secret, he absolutely kept it a total secret until that night, the night before the conference opened. And when I was told, I was like, what? And I was losing my mind. I walked out, and he and everyone else is like, who is he? Right? I'm going, you guys don't do any internet research at all. It's like he's a pariah. He and his brother are like the court jesters of freaking internet. I mean, they're destroying boxing. Who would have thought they could have done that? And but he knew, he knew it's like, yeah, I can latch on. All I have to do is say I'm a flat earther, bring in. I mean, he went so far as to hire an Australian model to fly her in to be his fake girlfriend for the week.
I
And it
didn't know that.
was, oh yeah, it was absolutely, it was a pony show. Goes on stage and says, it's like, I'm coming out of the flat Earth closet, or I think I'm coming out of the flat Earth closet. He's absolutely one of the most inarticulate people I've ever heard in my life. Uh, it was just horrible, right? And then drops the mic, and that was really it because he can't talk. And then later he releases this punk video, and I'm people are yelling at me for months because they're saying, Mark, why do you walk out? Blah blah blah. I'm going, you'll see, and I was absolutely right. Where a couple months later he releases this. Look, this is how I punked all of Flat Earth. It's like, not all of us, freaking tool. Anyway, sorry, I wrote about that in the last book. I just want to get that out there.
Well, yeah. Are you okay if I upload this interview to YouTube when we're done?
You can do whatever you want. I treat everything like it's recorded, to be honest.
All right, well, yeah, you can plug your book and your video. You have the banner behind you.
No, you don't know what I should plug is the app that we made. I don't get a dime for it.
Is
But
it an app?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Here, this will show you. We just made a new feature called Flat Earth Finder. We just released it like 2 weeks ago.
What is the
And
app called?
the app's called, here, I'll show you. You should get the app, man.
I'm in the Play Store right now.
I can take it to the chat room. Chat box. Chat. Oh, there it is.
Where there's the chat.
Hopefully this won't screw up the recording. Will not. So here's the app. And here, bonus. Check this out. Here's a little fun thing for you. So we just turned on this feature, and you'll be able to see this on your laptop or whatever you're running. I think that showed up. Wait, nope, wrong one. That's a map of the island. Where the heck is it? Oh, here it is. What? Look, check out this thing. This is just the people in the last couple of weeks that turned on their app finder, their friend finder in the app. So Flat Earth Friends, not to be confused with any other friends thing. So if you click on it, it's what's it up to this morning? 15,000. Yeah, there's 100,000 on the app, but these are the 15,000.
So is that are like live on the app right now?
Yeah.
I'm gonna mess up the recording, but I'll take a photo of this for later. I'll click on it.
Yeah, have fun, and it's real time. So all you have to do is keep refreshing the page, and but you'll see I'm on there, but it's kind of fun. It's like I tell people, it's like, if when everything goes sideways, here's some of the people you can trust, which is true. The Flat Earth community is very, very, very close. Anyway, sorry, we got off on a complete side tangent with Bill Nye and Logan. Probably not relevant to your paper.
Logan and Paul.
But do go on.
I found a paragraph about Logan Paul's contributions.
Yeah, the point is that just about it became so trendy that and safe. It was there was nothing really controversial. It was so controversial it wasn't controversial because it's like, oh, it's so obviously crazy. We can talk about it. And every channel you can think of. I mean, seriously, type in Flat Earth PewDiePie. It'll blow your mind. And everybody did it, and that's to where we got, even our channels got buried by all the mainstream stuff, by everybody else. So anyone that was trying to find Flat Earth content that was made by like people in the community, in the documentary, you have to scroll 10, 15 pages deep just to find any of them, because it was everybody else was, I mean, not just YouTube content creators, every network, every morning show, every. If you can think of it, I mean, hell, I was flown over to London twice to do things. I was like, all right, drag me into a Good Morning America, Good Morning Britain. Sitting there.
Are you on Good Morning Britain?
Yeah, I was on Good Morning Britain, and what was the other one? Oh, I can't remember. The names are all screwy over there. I did one with Piers Morgan and one with Philip and Holly. which was
Oh
fun.
yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah, yeah. Got to sit there. I told Philip how proud I was of him for finally coming out after forever. Not gay. I'm just saying, hey, good for you.
Yeah, yeah.
The celebrity world is, as you know, notorious for having
Scrutiny.
well, yeah, I mean it's hypocritical in so many ways, which is why it's fun to look. And by the way, once you pass away in Hollywood, if you're an A-lister and pass away, all
Mhm.
bets are off. Meaning, everything comes out. It's like, they're just waiting until you pass away, and then the producers hope that it doesn't get out, and it always does. I mean, like watching stories, and you can find them like Rock Hudson and James Dean on the same movie set together. Now, we're an item. And it's like they were icons, people know about Rock Hudson, because he died of AIDS. But James Dean's like, oh, not James Dean. It's like, why the hell not? It's like, I tell people, I go, what's the difference between being gay and playing a gay role as an actor? Not much. In fact, I'll give you one more real quick, and then you go on to a question. But this is one of those mind benders I throw at people, which is, you remember the television show Three's Company?
I've heard of it.
Okay. Well, it's about two women and a guy living in an apartment together in San
Hmm.
Diego. Hilarity ensues. Right? It's always has to do this. It was the running joke was here. This is the show that has a misunderstanding in it, which is like some. Anyway, the lead guy, played by John Ritter, he was a closet gay man in real life, right? Pretending to be straight because most of his fans were middle-aged women, going in every day to this show, playing a straight man who pretends to be gay because the landlord doesn't want any hanky-panky happening in the apartment. What does that do to you over the years, right? It's a complete reversal. It just blows my mind. Anyway, that's Hollywood in a nutshell, right there. The illusion, or as Carrie Fisher said, if it's on television, it's not real. She goes, "Don't give me any crap about this reality TV thing. It's not. There's nothing real about it. I can tell you right now." Anyway, sorry, I ramble. Go. What?
I'll have to think about that next time I watch something. If it's on television, it's not real.
It's not real. Sorry. I'll get okay. One more example for you. When I did a thing for National Geographic, this will tell
Hmm.
you. National Geographic, right? Integrity.
Hmm.
I met the lead interviewer for the first time 6 times. Meaning, it's like, oh, hey, there's Mark Sargent. Let's go talk to him, right? Hey, how's it going? Right? Okay, we're gonna shoot that from here. And it's like,
Hmm.
hey, it's Mark Sargent. And we just did take after take after take, and it was in the middle of a meetup. We had like 100 people in the meetup, and they're just staring at me I'm going, what? What am I supposed to do? This is how it works, because they don't want they want that shot. They do
Hmm.
so much redundancy, and yeah, basically the producers run everything, and in fact, none of the questions that were being asked at from me from the on-air talent, the lady who was talking to me,
Hmm.
they weren't her questions. They were the producers. They were giving them to him behind me. They're like, "Was okay. The next question you're going to ask him is blah 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 blah." And I'm like, and finally I turn around and I'm going, "Why are you not doing this?" It's like the point, like on-air talent. I go, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, it's just so like unauthentic the way that they film this stuff nowadays,
Uh,
especially in the news.
there's a wonderful quote that sums it all up. Mark Twain, he said, "Never let the truth get in the way of a good story." And it's true. It's like, look, embellish if you can, because we all do it to a certain point. Once you figure
Hmm.
out part of whatever story, if you're as you get older, stories that work, you embellish that part of it, and to make it because you get a better crowd response. That's the life of comedians, by the way. They work in the clubs and they write notes down. It's like, oh yeah, that worked, that didn't work, that worked, that didn't work, and they will change their story, that whatever narrative to fit that. Anyway, we're so off topic. Ask.
I'm enjoying it. It's okay to be off topic sometimes.
Okay.
All right, so I wanted to ask, what is one of like the major challenges that the flat Earth movement faces? Like if you know the biggest challenge or one of the biggest challenges.
The biggest challenge is fear from mainstream, meaning the mainstream loves the topic. I mean, I can't tell you how many producers I have talked to that want to turn this into a television show, but they are afraid of the backlash. That is our biggest challenge. Alex Jones would not do a show on us for 4 years. Would not
Really?
even touch it for 4 years. I remember talking to him early on because there's producers out there that scour the internet looking for interesting things, and they called us up immediately. And I remember talking to Alex Jones' team, and they said, "How long can we do a show about flat Earth without actually saying flat Earth?" And I go, 10 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. And that's if you dance around a little bit and go, yeah, we sorry. Because they're all afraid of the blowback. The show after show after show that I have done, at least early on, before the documentary changed a lot of that. What people would tell me before we went on air, and I recorded a lot of it. But it's like, yeah, just let you know, I'm really scared about doing this podcast. Really scared about doing this show because they were afraid of what the audience would do, and they were absolutely right. They read the comments. Yeah, the comments are a factor of 1,000%, right? But some of those comments are really inflammatory, and they were worried about that because there's a lot of people like, I can't believe you gave them a platform, unsubbed, thumbs down, go away. And
Yeah.
but when the documentary came out, that changed because it gave people an excuse. Beforehand, for example, media, if they wanted to do a flat Earth story, they had to find somebody in flat Earth and talk to them, which in itself was intimidating because they didn't know what to do because it's a new thing to them. And when the documentary came out, all they had to do was show their editor or their producer. It's like, oh yeah, look, it's out there already. It's actually there. In some cases, they wouldn't even talk to us. They would just base it off the movie, and then do follow up and watch some videos of whoever was in the movie. And it's like, I guess, but that's the biggest thing is fear. Now, if you're talking about the biggest challenge in terms of logistic, meaning things that are against flat Earth, is like how to disprove flat Earth. The biggest challenge has always been one thing, which is the Antarctic sun, 24 hours of Antarctic sunlight. Tough to do with only one light source. There's got to be something else going on out there. However, because Antarctica is the least traveled area ever, that it usually doesn't make any difference because nobody goes there. In fact, I still don't know anyone personally that's ever gone to Antarctica, other than camera teams that I've talked to, but they're not friends. People I've talked to producers over the years where you run into a camera guy or a sound guy. It's like, oh yeah, I was there once, man. It was really wild. Compasses don't work. It's like, great. So,
Have you heard of Colin O'Brady?
is he the guy that supposedly drug the sled across? Yeah. We went after that. We went after him a while ago because if you look at his route, they pick the absolute thinnest part, and if you compare it to a flat map, all he did was go in and turn around and do a big U-turn, a big horseshoe. But no. Again, the stories like that don't hurt us as much as you might think because there's so much that people don't understand about the world in general. When they get out of high school, for example, I got to pick on Americans, which is we give people just the basic amount of education when they get out of high school. I mean, most people don't know anything about engineering or physics or biology or microbiology or chemistry, any of that stuff. They don't know any. It's like I'm stunned. It's like it's like, oh yeah, get them out, give them a stamp of degree. It's like make sure they can drive, and that's it. That's all they got. Which is why, again, on the space program, why they can get away with so much. The moon stuff, the shot. Throw you a shot really fast. I used this in my speech before the whole pandemic just went to freaking hell.
It's like public high school doesn't necessarily prepare people for critical thinking. It just kind of sets them up to go get a 9-to-5 job. That's why driving is in the curriculum.
Yeah.
So that you can drive to your job. You can not be super broke for the rest of your life, but it really needs to teach more critical thinking and kind of push the idea of thinking for yourself and testing your hypothesis.
I mean, and look, I get it. I'm one of those weird conspiracy guys that believes in the greater good. I am not very popular when we get into like closed circle discussions with the other conspiracy people because I like, look, if the greater good is for a reason. I go, conformity builds empires. That's how it happens. You've got, you get people, you cookie cutter people in a lot of cases, and they get things done. I mean, China, perfect example of that. And America has had, at least for a while, the freedom to kind of do their own thing. It's kind of been changing recently. The shot I throw at you real quick is a perfect example. It's a beautiful, iconic shot taken by somebody supposedly in 1969 in Apollo 12, right?
Huh?
The longer, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's beautiful. It's crystal clear. The longer you stare at it, if you know anything about physics or engineering, it doesn't make any damn sense. Uh, and you're thinking, why? It's like, well, you can't see the forest for the trees. First off would be there's one light source, right? The sun. That's it. One light source. Well, one light source, distant light source, all the shadows will be running parallel. They will never intersect. Oh, that's kind of a big problem here because those shadows are absolutely going to intersect. That only happens if the light source is either with multiple light sources or one light source that's close. Like, I don't know, a studio light 30 yards away, maybe
Like big spotlight.
15, the big hot spot that's behind the camera guy. It's like, why is that hot spot even there? The second one would be let's do all the footprints, right? Footprints around perfect 3 inches of ash everywhere, right? These perfect footprints everywhere. But which means that even a person that weighs almost nothing can create footprints, but there's no blast crater underneath that engine. Nothing. It's like there should be a splay pattern, a monstrous splay pattern underneath that engine, and there's not. There's nothing. It's like it was just set there. Forget about the stars. There's people tell me all day long, well, there's no stars in the picture because the exposure settings and blah blah blah. I'm going, It's not because they knew that the star formations would be completely out of sync, because at the bottom of that picture, and every picture is time date stamped. And if the belt of Orion is not in the right place, there is some nerd in the middle of Nebraska at 3 a.m. in his underwear, which will absolutely catch it. And they will be like, belt of Orion's in the wrong place, right? And then if it's in the wrong place again and again and again, people are like, the time date stamps are really screwed up. And that's all it'll take. And the whole thing falls apart. So it's like, yeah, let's just not do any stars. No stars. No stars ever. Because
Keep it simple.
Okay, keep it simple. And last but not least, that beautiful satellite dish right there in the beginning. Beautiful. It's like, okay, what does it do again? Well, it supposedly communicates and does video transmission back to Earth. I'm going, what? People forget. We forget time. I go, look, this is 1969, right? That thing's got less power than a 1200 baud modem. In fact, it's running off. That's a VHF transmitter. That's not secret technology. It runs off a car battery. It has a range of maybe, on a good day, of 50 miles, and even then, we're talking maybe Morse code. And yet, you're telling me at 250,000 miles, this thing is doing 10 frames of color video a second and perfect two-way communication? How are you lining the dish up? What are you lining it up with? And you're saying, oh, we're lining it up with the thing that's orbiting the moon simultaneously. There's a craft supposedly up there orbiting, which is how these guys got back. I'm going, that's even worse. So now you've got a moving target up there that's then bouncing the signal back to Earth. How's that lining it up? What power is that thing running off of? People just gloss over it. They don't, and of course the spacesuits, which is why I put the spacesuit challenge out there for 3 or 4 years, which was the spacesuit challenge I told people was what in that backpack, because remember, these guys aren't tethered. It's not a G-force suit. What in that backpack stops the vacuum of space? Meaning, it's a law of thermodynamics, which is pressure cannot exist in non-pressure without a barrier, and it's got to be a hard barrier, because if it isn't a hard barrier, it will turn hard. And you take anything, you can look it up online, put anything in a vacuum chamber, football, basketball, soccer ball, can of Coke, anything, action, old action toys, they'll all explode. Because why? Well, because the pressure difference. It's like, so how is that astronaut moving around? How is he bending his arms and his legs and manipulating his fingers? And I put the challenge out there. I said, loan me a spacesuit from any era, because none of them ever failed. Put me in a vacuum chamber and pull the switch. Tell me what happens. No one's even suggested it. They can't. And there's vacuum chambers down here you could do it in. It's like, look, and I get it. It's brilliant. Remember, the simple answer is always the best, which is somebody came up with it back in 1968 or whatever. They're like, yeah, man, all we have to do is put it on frickin' TV. Because they were doing hard suits. You can look up the old suits. They were all huge, plastic and metal, because they had to be. And then someone said, no, man, no. We'll do the soft suits, put it on TV. No one knows jack about physics. It'll work. And it did. It worked flawlessly. People were like, well, the suit works. Therefore, it works. Therefore, it's got to be legit. And I was like, okay. Again, if it's on television, it's real. And I've talked to many people outside the country. I go, yeah, I get, in the United States, wave the flag, go raw team, right? Well, United States, woman at Fox News said, I believe in the moon landings because I'm a patriot. Oh, okay, that's not dangerous. But outside the United States, I go, why did you believe the Americans went to the moon? And they all told me the exact same thing. They said, because it was on TV. Yeah. Anyway.
I never thought to ask someone outside the United States about the moon landing.
Yeah, again, they believe. Well, hell, there was. I'll give you another one real fast. You think, well, that's obvious. That's news. I go, no, it's not. It goes further than that. I was in Egypt, 10 years ago at least, and I remember I was mobbed. Nobody knew who the hell I was. I was just an American, and I'm walking around this temple, and it's like a field trip of kids, and I'm asking the guide. I'm going, what's the deal? What's with all the kids, man? They go, oh, you're the first American they've seen outside of television. I go, and they go, well, you're one of those Americans. And I go, what? And they go, well, we've seen how Americans live. And they go, we've watched all the programs. I go, what programs are you watching? And they go, oh, Falcon's Crest, Dynasty, Dallas. These weird shows from the 80s and early 90s, which showed every American was living in a mansion and had servants, and there was always this drama of high fashion and these power plays. But that, again, you think that was accident, that those were the only shows we broadcast in the Middle East? Oh, no. That was the illusion the Americans put out there, which was we're not just great, we're larger than life. And to this day, well, again, these last couple of years, you can just throw those out. But before that, even the people in the Middle East called this the New World. Still, to this day, call it the New World. Land of opportunity. It's like, oh, yeah, when I get enough money saved, I'm going to go to America. I was like, wow.
Yeah, anyway. My two sweet mates that share a room with me are both from Saudi Arabia.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, so I have basically one more question. The 10th question was if you're okay with me putting this on YouTube.
Yeah.
I've already asked that. So my final question is there anything else you'd like to share that I need to know or something I should have asked?
Yeah, reverse psychology, which is if you like, I try to throw this out there. It's not reverse psychology. It's actually real. I put this in the book. And I don't care if you buy the book, to be honest. I just want to be on. When I made the books, I was told by the publisher, it's like, you got to make a book. And the second book was because a conference guy saying, we got to have a book to go along with the conference. It's like, okay. Which is, if you like your life the way it is, if you think you got a good beat on things, don't look at this. Don't do it. Because the longer it is a rabbit hole, it is very similar to the Matrix in that once you get past a certain point, you can't go back.
Okay.
There's certain things in the documentary which they would not talk about. Again, the director hated us. Producers hated us. Which is why there's never made a sequel. This thing was picked up by every streaming outfit there was, right? It was trending on Netflix for a while. And the pandemic even came back after the pandemic. And nobody that made that film was into flat Earth at all. But it's like the Matrix in that we have a 99% retention rate, which is higher than just about any group you can think of, including every major religion. Meaning, once you get into it, you can't get out of it. And the reason is because you're the one that tore down the globe yourself. It's different. I'm not here to convince you. I'm not here to persuade you. I'm just here to give you the idea, and then you tear it down. So let's say you tear it down, and then you have a change of heart. It's like, yeah, I want to go back to the globe. How can you go back? You're the one that tore it down in the first place.
You're the one who discovered it.
Yeah, you're the one. Yeah, you discovered it yourself, which is why I said, look, don't listen to me. Like, I'm just a guy. Who the hell am I? It's the idea, which is what I will say that the documentary got that right, where I said the flat Earth found me. I wasn't looking for it. It just happened to show up on a search engine when I was into Hollow Earth, kind of looking at that whole thing, and then all of a sudden stumbled into flat Earth, and like everybody else, kind of it's a trap, kind of like La Brea tar pits, which is,
Hmm.
if you know anything about those down in Los Angeles, the
Yeah,
sticky tar, right? Once you fall in, right,
can't get
and
out.
then you're falling, and whoever it is, either a predator or somebody else, is like, why'd you fall in? Here, I'll help you. And then they go in, and then everybody gets trapped, and pretty soon the whole thing's full of bones. But that's basically it. It's I advise people to be very, very careful if they want to go into this, which is kind of like the Matrix in a way. There's a lot of parallels. We use a lot of red pill, blue pill stuff because
Hmm.
we can always tell, we can sniff people out, which is why we've almost never been truly infiltrated. It's tough to fake to be a flat earther. Once you're in, that click, that light behind your eyes, and that sounds kind of cultish when I say that. And it's like, oh, are you a flat earther? No, it's not like that. But either there's no middle ground. I have never met anyone that's like, flat earth, take it or leave it. It's an all or nothing type deal, but it's completely voluntary. So that's basically it. Look into it at your own peril. There's lots of good stuff out there. If you're trying to point at anyone, any one thing that'll help people, I wouldn't even suggest going to YouTube, because you'll find a lot of content, but most of it's about people laughing at it. Late night talk show hosts. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel, during the last big conference we did, Jimmy Kimmel sent a team to punk us, and it's like, and 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 he it, and then he did like a 7-minute skit on it, which trying to make fun, which is like great. Some people say, oh, he's so mean and we should go after him, and it's like, no, man, it's still, the old saying is still true, which is any publicity is still publicity.
It's good publicity. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's, again, look at the freaking Paul brothers. They can do, they're just train wrecks, and
Yeah,
people
the
don't care.
masters of bad publicity.
The what?
The masters of bad publicity.
Yeah, yeah, they are.
Just
I
giving
mean,
them views,
who
clicks.
would have thought you could pay people to? Well, again, that thing in sports is always true, and people forget that, which is, when it comes to professional sports, you can pay people to win and you can pay people to lose. You will find vendors on both sides. So if I want to pay somebody, $500,000 to lose to me in a boxing match, what do you think? There's people lining up out the friggin' door. You take your pick. Doesn't matter. It's like, "Yeah, I'll take
Hmm.
that paycheck," and
And
they do.
you'll get almost as much camera time as the winners. Like the
Yes.
heels and the good guys to the fights. Some people are just professional heels, and you pay to watch the fight because you want to see them get beat.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't even care about who the good guy is.
Let me give you a story to end with, which is, you've heard of the show The Amazing Race?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So they've been around for years and years and years, completely manufactured since season one, episode one, and they asked us to be on a YouTube team to be on The Amazing Race, and the reason was they were trying to do an all YouTube version of this, and they came to us, and I knew, I watched. I hated the show, but I watched all the season they recommended from season 30, and then I went all the way back to season one, and I watched the episode one from season one, and you could see, if you spend enough time with producers, you can see how the manufacturing of it. Again, looking for the plot holes, like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. There's no race involved. The running is completely staged. It's not like, that's why they're never out of breath when you see them being interviewed by the camera. It's like, okay, you're going to run from here to here, and then they cut, and it's like, all right, take your time. And we're going to talk about this. And anyway, so the point is I go, yeah, we'll do it, but only if you don't throw us out in the first 2 rounds. And I said, and I said, because the first 2 rounds are just throwaways. No one remembers the first 2 rounds. I go, in fact, make us the villains, like you said, the heel. Make us the villains. Make us. If you make it all the way, first prize is $1,000,000, right?
Hmm.
Second prize is $50,000, and third prize, they just get nothing. Bronze gets nothing, but they're there all the way through the entire season. Like they show up at the podium and it's like, oh, we lost. I go, make us the foil. I go, people hate Flat Earth. It will be perfect. I laid it all out for them. It was not a hard plot to write. And I said, make us the villain in this, and it'll be great. It'll be great ratings. And I kind of insulted him when I said, but I was trying to make the point. It's like, don't insult me by saying, oh, well, it's a straight up fight. It's a straight up race. No, it's not. I go, technically, World Wrestling is also straight up. They will never on air say, yeah, by the way, this is for entertainment purposes only, even though it is. And the whole season fell apart. They did end up bringing. They picked two guys. They wouldn't do me because I was apparently too cynical. But they picked two guys. The whole season fell apart, and here's why. So they were asking guys, like the Paul brothers and Shane Dawson and all sorts of YouTube people that probably have never exercised in their life, except for the Paul brothers. And the whole thing fell apart because most people don't know is that when they shoot this, they shoot it all in 1 month, and they say you can't be on the internet at all for that entire month.
Oh, wow.
No email, no nothing, right? You are blacked out. And for a lot of these people, it's like, what are you talking about? That's a death sentence. We can't not be on the internet for a month. They
That's
post
their whole
stuff.
career.
That's what they do. And so many of them, and because they were asking us, they're saying, if you do this, are you going to be asking for compensation? And I go, why? But everyone else did. Everyone else just said, oh yeah, you better fork over if we're going to do that. But at the same time, full well, it's like they would try to record shit or run down to a store, grab a burner phone or whatever, but it'd be this big breach of contract. So anyway, the whole thing just fell apart because they couldn't get any of the heavy hitters to sign on because it's like it was a paradox, which is you're telling internet people not to be on the internet so that they can come back later and promote your internet-based race television show. The television and internet collided at that point. So
yeah, and those like game shows are known for they don't treat the contestants very well.
No,
They're like props.
no,
Some of
yeah,
my friends have done like it's like Wipeout, but it was in Mexico, and my friend Lorena came back and she was talking about how someone had a torn ACL and they just kept pumping him with steroids to keep him going, and everyone afterwards went to the doctor for an injury they had been nursing the whole time but weren't allowed to go because of the shooting schedule. So I could never do that, and I just feel really bad for the people that sign up. They want to be on TV, they want to be famous, but they get treated like nothing.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. All right, parting shot, because this reminded me of a quote, because again, I'm older, I know a ton of quotes. It was from Brad Pitt, and he does not get quoted a lot, where he goes, you want to know the worst thing about being an A-lister? He goes, you have to get up every morning and go to work. And a lot of people don't realize that, which is when you reach that pinnacle, right? And all of a sudden you're an A-lister, you can get scripts all day long. It's like, yeah, but you're now going to have to work harder than everyone because you want to keep that. And that's the whole point. It's like, oh yeah, you're an A-lister now. We will send you scripts every day. You were going to be on a shooting schedule nonstop. I mean, you look at their IMDb schedule, they are just in production constantly. And so, and for those people, a lot of them, again, that love, it's like, the Lady Gaga song, Applause, it's like they want it so badly that they hang on. What was that secret? It was during a late night talk show host, but it was a great one where he said he basically outed some of the celebs. He goes, you guys, you're sitting next to each other on the couch, these celebs in a late night talk show, they all hate each other. Not because they hate each other as people. It's because the business is so ruthless and so cruel.
It's competition.
It's competition. Absolutely right. It's like those people, you sit in an audition hallway in a room, right? There's 30 people, look all like you, dressed like you, and you just wish they would all die. It's like wish there was a bus crash outside and everyone would run outside and then you'd run in. It's like, oh, I get the part. But when you reach that certain level, it's king of the hill, where you're up there and everyone around you is a threat. Everyone, it's like, are you younger? Are you more talented? It's like, and so their heads are on swivels constantly. And there's these huge clashes of personalities, and it's just so weird to watch. But yeah, could not pay me enough. So yeah, me doing stuff, I'm really careful about not getting in too deep with that crap. because it is. I have learned that it is just awful.
I will. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
My
If you
time is
need
pretty
other
much up.
if you need any other resources, let me know. Or if there's anybody else you need to talk to, I know pretty much. If I don't know them, I can put you in touch with them.
All right, and then I had a video conference with my professor yesterday, and he mentioned my next project is a research project. I like pick a cause and interview people. So if you could be down for possibly a second interview or like more
Sure.
email questions,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
All right, man. Have a good day.
All right, take care. Thank you so much, and it was actually great to meet you.
All right. Nice to meet you. See ya.